Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a LR Glox how to build. So of course this is the brand new LR Glox, the green Glox. Actually this outfit pretty cool. I actually like this one. It's actually my favourite Glox outfit. Just like all the nice little details on it is what's quite nice. So okay, substats. They're okay. His crit chance is like, it's okay. 114 isn't bad. It's definitely not like rivaling the top highest, and it's not even rivaling some of the highest we've had in the past, like since Overlord. I'm pretty sure someone with Overlord has more crit chance than this. He's got an okay pierce rate, quite nice resistance. Crit resistance is kind of low. Crit defense is actually quite high. Crit attack is actually quite high. Bear in mind he's running HTB defense currently. Lifesteal is mediocre. 13%. It's okay. It's not the worst, but it's definitely not the best. CC wise, 69,000. Of course, this is without UR gear. Currently, he doesn't have any UR gear, and I might not even make him UR gear. Of course, we'll get into that in a second. First, we'll get onto his skill. So his first skill is Sever and Bleed, which of course Bleed does 9% of the damage you deal after the end of every turn, and Sever is 3 times crit chance. So his 114 crit chance isn't actually too bad. Bear in mind you have Sever. I accidentally backed out because I'm an idiot. It's not actually too bad. Bear in mind you have Sever, so you can actually deal quite a nice chunk of damage. You've got, of course, the multipliers for this skill. Let me show you. There you go. 231 and 385, but the bleed doesn't change and the damage for the bleed doesn't change. It's just the skill multiplier, which is normal. This card I'm sort of like weirded out about. Level 1 still has no effect. Like, you couldn't give it like buff seal at level 1, or like something at least at level 1, because like it has no effect. It hasn't got pierce. It hasn't got like any sort of increased damage. It's just an attack skill. At level 2, it attack disables and buff disables for a turn. And at level 3, it attack disables and buff disables for 2 turns. Moving on to the ultimate, it's Ruin. Inflicts ruin damage equal to 840% of attack on one enemy. Then decreases all stats, all enemy basic stats by 30% for 2 turns. Let me show you what I mean. But let me show you how this ultimate works. So, Ruin will remove all debuffs that are applied. For example, I will apply this debuff quickly. There you go. Now he's got 2 debuffs. If I ult, and what Ruin will do is it will remove the debuffs. But because this ultimate applies debuffs, it actually applies debuffs after the ultimate's played, which is actually quite cool. That's his relic. That's cool. Vaporized, and then look, and now you see the debuffs apply now. Yeah, it's so basically that happens so that you can guarantee the debuffs will apply. If not, the rune effect will just straight up make the ultimate completely useless. Yeah, you'll get like a damage increase. Was it like 20% by debuff? 30%. So usually like a 90% damage increase, right? If they applied beforehand, but it applies afterwards. So in theory, you know, their basic stats are actually lowered. You're actually lowering the basic stats instead of just increasing the damage dealt, because you apply 3 extra debuffs. It does also apply on all enemies as well, even though his ultimate is single target, which is kind of nice. To his passive. Actually, no, we'll go over his commandment. Decreases attack-related stats of heroes who use 2 or more skills in 1 turn by 30% for 2 turns in PvP. Applies to both allies and enemies. And of course, if you have Demon King, you can just completely turn this off, which is probably will happen 90% of your games, because a lot of people use Demon King still. On to his passive. Increase the allies' defense-related stats by 10% for each surviving ally. So everyone in the team gets 30% defense-related stats, no matter the race, no matter nothing. And then increase allies' attack-related stats by 10% for each ally that has died. So, basically, let's say 2 of your allies die, your other ally on the field that is not Glox will have 20% attack-related stat boost, which if it's melee, you're going to be hitting quite hard. And then another part, which is like kind of redundant in my opinion. Bleeding enemies have their crit chance decreased by 30% and crit damage decreased by 40%. You know, it's quite a bit, 30% crit chance lower, but bear in mind there's so much cleanse in the meta. It's sort of like, you know, you got Margaret cleanse, you got Demon King like passive cleanse. Every turn, 1 debuff of every enemy, so it's like, it's kind of irritating. Of course, there are ways to get around it, especially melee's one. There's ways to get around it. You know, if you apply another debuff first, then apply the bleed, yeah, you'll have the crit chance lower because it always removes the first debuff applied. But it's up to you, really. I don't think it's the best. I think they definitely could have made this bit a little bit better. Made like so the bleed is grey, and you know it has this effect. Maybe it would have been fine. Its relic, a little bit lackluster, is a dog relic, by the way. In PvP, increase the basic stats of fairy allies by 5% for every fairy ally participating in battle. Increase fairy allies' crit chance and crit damage by 10% for every debuff applied. So you get 4% extra crit damage, 20% extra crit chance. It's quite good. It's like a little bit better than Margaret's LR Margaret's passive, but they've just given to him as a relic. The basic stats for fairies, I think, should maybe have been fairies and commandments, because he's a commandment and fairies aren't in the current best place for meta, as well as a lot of their good characters are seasonal, that being Green Wedding Elaine, and of course the current brand new Green New Year King. Both of them are seasonals, so 90% of the player base are not going to own them, and it's sort of like, it's okay, maybe in the future it might not be too bad, but currently he's only boosting his own basic stats, which, yeah, not my problem. On to outfits. So outfits wise, all of these have been given for free at some point. So you've got the final boss one, you've got the back to school one sort of thing. Of course you've got LR Glocks, and you've got red and then the green UR variants as well. Weapons wise, so many event weapons for Glocks. Unbelievable how many event weapons we've gotten for Glocks. Like from like random events for no reason. Headgears, not as many. You've got the back to school one, you've got the green Glocks affinity one, you've then got the final boss one, and of course then you've got the current LR one, so you didn't actually have to buy any if you've been playing and you've got all the event ones. You don't actually have to buy any if you want to get, of course, max outfits. Relic, of course, basic stats, 380 attack, quite good, 350 defense, also quite good, 4200 HP is also quite nice as well. Onto gear. So, Glocks can put out quite a nice chunk of damage, but his problem, well, in my opinion, his passive is more built for support than DPS. I would personally go with HP defense. Of course, if you are going to use him in PvP, if you're going to just use him in PvE, you know, don't use attack rate dam. I'm just seeing what his CC is like, 65k, not bad. That isn't perfect attack rate dam, it's like mediocre at best. But I would say maybe don't make UR gear for him for now until he has a proper use, because every LR has had a use on release. You know, you got LR Melee, insane for basically anything at the time. OG Demon, Howlix, PvP, you know, the odd things like even some Demonic Beast he was very good for at the time. And then you had LR Escanor. Once again, good for the odd PvE boss. It's Escanor, so you probably already got UR gear for him, so you don't really have to make any more. LR Liz, good for basically anything PvE and Demonic Beast based. You know, yes, you probably already had good gear for Liz, so it doesn't matter once again. Margaret, LR, good for PvP, good for the odd PvE event here and there, and it's just an upgrade, general upgrade, so it's not too bad. Once again, you probably already had gear for Margaret, so it's not a problem. This Glocks was such a bad character, you probably didn't even have gear for him. Meaning, is it even worth making gear for him if he currently doesn't have a key use? His relic, his commandment in PvP can really lower his damage by 30%, and it also applies before you play your second card. So what happens, you play one card, and then you play the set. When the second card comes to play, you get debuff, means your attack's already lowered, which can be quite a pain. You know, I'm going to see how much damage I can give to the Ghouls. I'm currently running HP defense. I'm probably going to keep him HP defense. I might even just give him Boxy C gear, really. Because I might end up just using him in ungeared only. Of course, unless, of course, he gets a big use later on. Let's just say, not Hero Arena, but actually, maybe even Hero Arena. Maybe Hero Arena, maybe some sort of Demonic Beast, maybe some sort of boss battle, whatever. Then maybe I'll make him gear. But currently, I don't see any use for making him gear. Yeah, technically you could go attack right down and use him as a DPS, because his damage isn't too bad, right? And if you put him on a full Goddess team, not full Goddess team, a full Fairy team, and give him a full support, you know, it's not going to be too bad. How much are you doing? 497 isn't bad. Bear in mind, a lot of the meta has a lot of debuff spam. Yeah, there's a lot of cleanse, there's also a lot of debuff spam as well, especially from Sins. I think Sins is really the only team that has a lot of debuff spam, really. And, Hell has also a lot of debuff spam, the Hell Unknown team. But overall, Glocks is a half decent character. If you have the LR materials just lying around, might as well just make it, because you might have a use later on. That's really how I see Glocks. It's sort of mediocre, but maybe something could come up in the future and then actually make him quite good. Of course, we've seen that in the past. Queen Diane was quite bad on her release because, well, she didn't have a defense increase, she had a HP increase with her taunt, and then they did a Retomio, and now she's still meta to this day, and it's been nearly 2 years. Anyway, thank you for watching, hope you guys enjoy, see you in the next one, goodbye.